everybody, I'm Tom Basso and welcome to Week in Review. In this video, we take a look at all the games we reviewed over the past week and we tell you how good they are. Or these are kind of quick snippets, so we'll give you a quick rating of these games, and then if you want, you can look below. There's links to each review, and you're like, ooh, I want to hear more about that game, or hear why they hated it so much. You can check it out there. So let's get started. Here we go.
Hey everybody, Z Garcia here. Last week I reviewed 5 games. Here we go. I reviewed London After Midnight, a very simple take-that card game, which is very heavy with the luck, very much a take-that game. Super swingy, not a lot of staying power. It's mercifully short, but it's not a very good game, so that one I would definitely say is a pass. Take a look at it if you really like take-that games, but otherwise, you can safely skip that. I also reviewed Speakeasy, which feels a lot like a Stratego game. It's based on an older game. It has a theme that I found to be somewhat ill-fitting, but the gameplay is okay. If you really are a huge fan of Stratego, you could take a look at it as a curiosity, but I still find Stratego to be a better game anyway, so this is mostly a pass as well. I reviewed Penki, a cool abstract game with the X in a row style gameplay, in this case 5 in a row, but you build the board as you play, and every time you play pieces, you have to play 2 of them at the same time. Some of them could be your opponent's pieces. Really cool, very interesting, not a mind-blowing abstract, mind you, but one I really liked, and one I'm going to be hanging on to. That's Penki. I also reviewed Unusual Suspects Burn After Play, which is the expansion to the original release from Cranio Creations. It's, on the one hand, it's great. It's more of what's in the original game. More characters, more questions. On the other hand, that's all it is. So if you were not a huge fan of the original game, there's nothing at all here for you. If you like the original, you want more of the same, then this is definitely for you. I liked it. I thought it was well done. And then lastly, Deus Egypt, an expansion to Deus, one of my favorite games of all time. And this expansion is fantastic. It gives you a whole new deck of cards. You can switch in and out parts of the game, so it's sort of modular. And it just gives you more tactics, more strategy, a little bit more interaction, way more combos between the cards. It's great. If you like Deus, then this is one that's gonna... It's required buy-in, I would say, if you enjoy the base game. That's how good that is. That's Deus Egypt, and that's it for me. I will see you next time.
Hey folks, welcome back to another week in review. This week I did 3 reviews. I did Zombicide Black Plague's plastic tokens and 3D doors. It's actually 2 different expansions that you can buy for the base game. That's another thing that you need to understand. These are not things that are necessary for the game. They are definitely luxury items. So take that with a grain of salt. You don't need to buy these, but if you're looking for that next step to bling out your copy of Zombicide Black Plague, this might be where you want to go. The plastic tokens are all very good. They're high quality stuff. I really enjoyed them. So check them out. Maybe you want to buy them, maybe you don't. Balls in your court. The next review was Raise Your Goblets, another Cool Mini or Not product. This just kind of happened to fall in the same week that way. But Raise Your Goblets is a neat little memory game, actually, but it also has a social aspect to it. It also has a hand management aspect to it, where you, all of the different players are trying to take out one of the other members of the family. They're representatives of their family, and they've been sent with a mission to take out one of the other family members at this banquet that's been called by the king. And so you're trying to poison these goblets of wine. But anyway, it's a really fun game. I enjoyed it a lot. Raise Your Goblets. Go check out that review. And finally, I did a review for Nexus Ops. Nexus Ops is definitely not an new game. It's old game is probably actually hard to find at this point. It has been printed, and then it went out of print, and then was reprinted, and now that reprint from Fantasy Flight is hard to find as well. But it's a really cool area control game, a lot of dice rolling, with a really cool combat mechanism where there's a definite order and all the units attack, and you have to follow that order. I really enjoy it. It's one of the classics, I think, from Avalon Hill that everybody should at least have played. Whether you can own it or not is really based upon how you can find it. But go check out the review. Basically what happened was I was confronted by a couple of guys, friendly of course, on the cruise, saying that we talk about this game all the time and nobody's ever done a review for it. So I took the challenge and did a review. Go check it out. And that's it. See you on the flip side.
It's Roy Candy from Epic Gaming Night, and this week I reviewed a couple games. One was the expansion for Marvel Legendary Deadpool. This is a crazy, zany expansion that has all sorts of things that affect things outside of the game. Make sure to check out the expansion for that if you like crazy things or like Marvel Legendary at all. And also I reviewed London Dread, which is a real-time programming game with this cool clock component where you're programming all of your actions and then going to the second phase and acting out all those actions as a team. Very cooperative, very fast-paced, and very interesting. So make sure to check both those out. Also make sure to check out my epic games of 2016. I did a top 10 list talking about all of the games that I thought were super epic from 2016. So that was my week in review. We'll see you next time.
Okay, and for me, first of all, there's Bluff You, which is a bad name and a pretty terrible game in which you roll dice and try to bluff the other person, but you essentially just lie or don't lie, your choice. They have to guess whether you lied or don't lie, their choice. There was no incentive to lie or not lie. You just pick one and do it, which just did not make for a good game. Poker Assault from Cryptozoic is a game about building poker cards. Has some really cool graphic design, great looking game, but the game itself is just kind of a super glorified game of war. Wasn't very impressed with it. Dragons and Chickens is a speed style game where you're slapping cards or shouting things out. And there's a lot of games in this genre, but Dragons and Chickens just, I don't know, I like the artwork, I like the idea, but it just didn't distinguish itself from that crowd of grab something or do things, and so I just was not that big of a fan of it. Chariot Race. Jason and I reviewed this one. It is a fun little chariot racing game where you roll dice, kind of like King of Tokyo, and then race around and knock each other out. It's really very similar to King of Tokyo. The components are okay, and the racing is fun, but there's not a lot to distinguish about it, and honestly, most boring name of the week, Chariot Race. J'accuse is a game in which you are accusing some other people of committing a murder. Think like after an Agatha Christie play, and then everyone's sitting down trying to figure out who it is. That's how this game works. It is a decent game, but if you get into it and role play, it can be really entertaining in that regard. So if you do that, then I like it. Mondrian, this is a dice game based on Mondrian's artwork where he paints squares, and for some reason people think that's amazing, and now that I said that, I'm going to get negative responses on this. But you're rolling dice and then seeing what happens. It's fun. It could have been better. It could have been a little tighter, but it's a pretty solid little fun, entertaining throw dice on a table type game. 1001 is a team game, which there were parts of it that were a little broken, I thought. Like you can find out you're losing and then there's no way to catch up. But the whole idea of team versus team and figuring out where the chariot goes, that's kind of an intriguing, that chariot, flying carpet, where that goes, was kind of an intriguing proposition. Fold It. This is a really cool, innovative game where you have this like piece of cloth and you're trying to fold it to show only the foods that the card says. Unfortunately, you're going to run out of cards after a while, but it's a really neat puzzle device. It's something new where you're taking something tangible and folding it up. I like that. Pokemon XY Evolutions. This was a game that I played 15, 16 years ago. Was not impressed with Pokemon when I first played it because I've been playing much more convoluted CCGs at the time, and Pokemon felt like a step down. I think it's fine now. It's a pretty solid game, and me playing Pokemon Go certainly isn't hurting in that regard. Make and Break Architect. This is an interesting thing. There's a lot of make and break games. This one here has a ruler that folds all over the place with different colors, and you have to fold it into the right position. It's another game like Fold It, really, except this time you're folding sticks around and trying to form different shapes. Really kind of an entertaining type game. Unicornus Knights. This is a cooperative game in which a princess is trying to defeat an evil king, and she's going to do it whether you help her or not. So you need to help her and clear out the bad guys from in front of her. It's a really solid, intriguing cooperative game. It's a little clunky at parts. There's sometimes you have to sit around and figure out where things are, and it's I would like to see maybe parts of it streamlined slightly, but it's pretty solid and it stands out in a, there's a lot of cooperative games that are the same old, same old. This one's different and has a cool theme. Plague Incorporated. This is the opposite of Pandemic, in which you are the viruses and you are trying to take over and destroy as much of the world as possible. And that's kind of a theme that's kind of a little hard for some people to stomach, I understand that, but it's very abstracted out and it's actually a solid game. I was really impressed with it. It's basically an area control style game. Then we have Insider. Jason and I took a look at this one. Best party game of the year. It is an amazing, fun little cards. Now it's too expensive, So I would highly recommend waiting till someone reprints this at some point, because it's like $20, and honestly, you could make it at home if you wanted to. I'm not recommending that. But the gameplay itself, which is a mix between 20 questions and Werewolf, is just phenomenal. And that's it for the reviews. We did a lot of other things this week. I did an unboxing video, which I thought was boring, but apparently people liked. Jason did his cruise blogs, so if you missed on those, you can, if you want to see good shots of the whole cruise, check those out. And a whole pile of top 10s. We did our top 10 games of 2016. Alrighty, we'll see you next week. Until then, this has been Look Back. I'm Tom Vassell, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.